Grab your cup. Last night on a group coaching call, we were talking about the impact of the languaging that we use inside of our heads and the way that we talk to ourselves and how deeply rooted that is, probably for many, many years. One of the clients actually started the conversation by remembering when she was 14 years old. And we all know that age, right, in middle school, we're usually not really talking to ourselves very well. But in that call, by the way, my name is Linda Downey. I'm a transformational health and whole life coach. I've been working in health and wellness for 40 years. And in the most recent years with women, primarily in the areas of stress and anxiety and breaking the toxic patterns in their life so that they can have their health back and they can have the connected relationships and the joy in their life. So that's who I am and what I do. And so in last night's call, as we got into that conversation about the negative self-talk, what came up and what I want to share with you in case you've never heard this phrase before is the idea of a soul fracture. A soul fracture, when we fracture ourselves away from our soul. So every time we use words like, I'm an idiot, what's wrong, I'm so ugly, what's wrong with me, the ways that we talk and berate ourselves, our soul actually gets impacted because the soul, the essence of who you are, knows differently. The soul, your true self, is a divine creation from God. So there is no mistake, there is no less than, there is no not good enough. All of that comes from thinking and messaging that we have heard and learned in our life. And also it comes from a defense mechanism when we are avoiding feeling things in our experiences and we don't process those through. That negative self-talk, that criticism and judgment, and also towards other people, can be one of the multiple defense mechanisms that show up. However it gets generated, and we do work on all of that, but it creates a fracture in your soul. Every time you speak to yourself in that way, you separate from self, from who you truly are. And there's a deep pain in that. There's a deep wounding in that we're doing ourselves. We also increase that soul fracture or continue to separate from self when we keep ourselves available for other people's judgment and berating, other people's controlling, when we keep saying yes to things that don't feel good, from little things like just taking on extra tasks or being the one who always does this, but you carry resentment, from those things to the bigger things of saying yes and being available for relationships that are not fulfilling you, relationships where the other person is controlling and berating. So when we show up and keep being available for things that do not feel good, that do not fulfill us, and that really ultimately are wounding us, we're creating soul fractures. And part of the work that I do, particularly in my program called Return to You, which is all about returning to you and that divine self that you are by breaking those patterns. But in all the work that I do, there's an element of that because that wounding is there and those defense mechanisms are there until you're willing to uncover them. And that shows up as stress and anxiety. You're going to feel anxious when you keep disconnecting from yourself. You're going to feel anxious when you don't know how to process the experiences that you've had and the emotions that go with those. So there's an anxiety that keeps showing up because it's in your body. Those experiences and those emotions are in your body. The anxiety is in your body. You can't think your way out of it. You can't tell yourself with affirmations everything's fine and just notice that the anxiety disappears. It's in your body. So is your soul. And that soul fracture is correlated to the level of stress and anxiety that you feel, and it's correlated to the relationships that you're in. If you want some more information about that, if that makes sense to you, like I can see that I have done that. I can see that I keep showing up for things that don't feel good. I can see that I have a negative languaging going on in my head most of the time or very often. And I keep beating myself up. And I keep trying to cover up and defend against something that I don't want to feel, or I don't know how to feel, or I'm not even sure what it is. But there's a defense there. If any of that relates to you, put talk in the comments. I would love to share with you about the work that we do and how that can make a difference for you. It's a free conversation, but that's what came up on last night's call. We never really know where the conversation's going to go, but it always, I think, makes an impact and moves people in the direction of where they want to go. And that could be you. So go ahead and put talk. Have a good day.